They say mirrors are windows to another world, a realm that reflects more than just your image. Some believe that every mirror holds a secret and some a curse. Tonight I'll tell you a story about a mirror that trapped more than just reflections. This is the tale of the ghost in the mirror. It all began with Sarah, a young woman who had an insatiable fascination with antiques. She loved the way they carried whispers of history, the remnants of lives long past. One autumn afternoon, while exploring a dusty antique shop tucked away in an old cobblestone street, Sarah stumbled upon a mirror. Not just any mirror, this one was magnificent, towering, and framed with gilded carvings of vines and roses. It looked as if it belonged in the grand hall of an ancient mansion. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with eyes that seemed too knowing, tried to dissuade her. He murmured something about the mirror's history, about strange things that had happened to its previous owners, but Sarah dismissed his warnings. To her, it was just a story, superstition. And so she brought the mirror home, unaware that she had just invited something into her life that she would never escape. At first, everything seemed normal. The mirror fits perfectly in her room, its golden frame gleaming in the soft light. But that night, as Sarah lay in bed scrolling through her phone, she thought she saw something move in the mirror. Just a flicker, a shadow darting across the reflection. She paused and stared at it momentarily, but there was nothing. She told herself it was her imagination. After all, mirrors can play tricks on tired eyes. But then it happened again the next night, and the night after that. The shadow grew bolder, lingering longer, almost as if it was watching her. It didn't take long for Sarah to realize that something was wrong. Her reflection seemed off. The eyes in the mirror looked darker and colder, as if they belonged to someone else entirely. Over the next few days, Sarah's unease turned to fear. The strange occurrences became impossible to ignore. Objects in her room moved on their own. A vase toppled over without explanation. Books fell from shelves. And every time she glanced at the mirror, she saw that shadow. It wasn't just a trick of the light anymore. It was there, lurking, waiting. One night, unable to bear the tension any longer, Sarah confronted it. She lit candles around the mirror, their flames flickering as if disturbed by an unseen presence. Holding her phone, she began to record, hoping to capture whatever was happening. But as she stared into the mirror, she felt the air grow colder. The candles' flames danced wildly before, one by one. They extinguished themselves. The shadow in the mirror began to take shape. Slowly it transformed into the figure of a woman. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow and lifeless. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. And then she smiled. Not a warm, friendly smile, but something cold, sinister and full of malice. Sarah tried to look away, but she couldn't. It was as if the mirror held her in its grasp. The figure in the mirror raised a hand and pressed it against the glass. The surface rippled like water, and for a moment Sarah thought she saw her hand move toward it, except she wasn't moving. Her body was frozen, paralyzed by fear, as the woman in the mirror began to step closer to the surface. The room filled with a deafening silence that made your ears ring and your heart pound. And then the lights went out. When the lights flickered back on, Sarah was lying on the floor, her eyes wide open, staring blankly at the ceiling. But something was different. The mirror was gone. In its place was an empty patch on the wall, as if it had never been there. Her phone, still recording, lay beside her. When the footage was reviewed later, it showed Sarah standing in front of the mirror, her face twisted in terror, but her reflection Her reflection was smiling. They say the mirror has surfaced again in another antique shop, waiting for its next owner. So, if you ever find yourself drawn to an old, ornate mirror, remember this story. Not all reflections are your own. And sometimes the things we see in the mirror are far more dangerous than the things we don't.